Hey everyone, welcome to this new addition to the channel called Haters Club, where I talk about TV shows, movies, character tropes, animes, whatever that I just cannot stand. That's the title, Haters Club. And in this edition of Haters Club, we're going to be talking about 3 of the worst anime tropes ever due to poor execution or just being a bad trope. So let's get right into it. And first we're going to start off with the 2010 Bronze. It's something that doesn't really have a name. I don't know the name of, so I just categorize it as the 2010 Bronze Syndrome, where characters don't know that they're strong and act kind of passive or fearful, just like Braun in the 2010 finals, where he was clearly the best player in the world, but he got outplayed by players such as Dirk and D-Wade and really shied away from the moment, even though he had all the skills and tools to be the best. Now you may be asking yourself, why do you hate this trope so much that you're making a whole video or a partial video on it? And it's because it's just something that just grows stale very quickly. I mean, when executed right, it can be used as character development in some cases, but more often than not, it's just used as a gag that the show relies on throughout the seasons. Like in Demon Slayer, where every time you see Zenitsu fight someone or he's in action, he's scared for some reason. I know like the first 2 times it's justified, but it's something he's been training for not his entire life, but for a good majority of his life. So at this point, he shouldn't be scared enough to actually not want to fight at all. 2 quick examples that come to mind when this trope is done right is Gohan from Dragon Ball Z and Kenichi, the Mightiest Disciple. Start off with Gohan. The reason I like the way they use 2010 trope with Gohan is that they use it as he's scared right now, but when he unleashes his potential and he actually tries to fight, he's one of the strongest. And Gohan really is the essence of the 2010 Braun. I could, like, if I had to name it other than the 2010 Braun trope, it would be the Gohan trope, or like the Teen Gohan trope, I should say. Well, in that Cell saga, he was already probably stronger than Cell, but he just had to be pushed into it. Like, he was frightful of Cell, even though he acquired the strength to beat Cell. And they had used that as character development where Angel 16 dying. I mean, you already know the story. I'm not going to break down the whole thing, but that's a way to use the 2010 Gohan trope correctly. Another way is with how Kenichi, the Mightiest Disciple, did it, where just like Gohan, he started off weak and they used it as like a funny thing where he ran away from fights, but as he continues to train and grows stronger and stronger, he becomes less and less scared of the fight. And even him being scared of some people he's already capable of beating is reasonable due to the fact that he's been only training with the absolute highest peaks of masters in the show, and he is thoroughly beaten every time without getting a punch in. So that leads to him having a low self-esteem and still believing that he is weak. So when he first starts his first couple of fights, the trope kind of makes sense. As he starts to get into more and more fights, he starts to realize, oh, I'm not really weak. That's another way to use the 2010 trope as character development. I know that's like a short synopsis of Kenichi Mightiest Disciple. That anime deserves its own video one day soon. But other animes that include this horrendous trope, I Parry Everything, where the middle-aged man who finally gets into adventuring after years of training, after he was originally told that he wasn't good enough, then he turns out to be one of the strongest beings in the show. And Osen Nubi, a middle-aged man who after years of training gets into adventuring after originally being told he wasn't good enough, and ends up being one of the best in the world, and they so happen to come out at around the same time. I'm sure that's a coincidence. What? Anime companies do all the time. A money grab. Throwing stuff at the wall? Well, that's a subject for another day or another edition. But back to the topic. Well, Oasen and I Parry Everything both did come out at the same time. Both had the same premise and both contain the archetype of a 2010 Braun and their 2 protagonists, but is a major difference in which both of them use the 2010 Braun as a joke, but I Parry Everything holds the joke for way too long, like for the entirety of the series, which really kills the joke that wasn't really funny to begin with, especially the way they executed it. But OS and Newbie is a good example. They used the 2010 Bron trope as well, which was really irritating, but they quickly dropped it within the first 3-4 episodes, which made it way more bearable, more enjoyable of a show, because once you get past that, it picks up the speed and has good fights and whatnot. So it's a really good watch. But I'm not saying you gotta redefine the mode, you gotta always have a character with deep development. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do an anime trope, at least add a little spice to it or execute it well, especially if you're gonna use it for comedic moments, which does work. Like I said, OSN, One Punch Man does something kind of similar to the 2010 Bron trope, where Saitama doesn't know he's one of the strongest heroes, but Genos does. It's kind of like something like that. I know it's not as prevalent and that's kind of a reach, but that's like similar mode where of the 2010 Bron, that's a better way to execute it. They put a spin on the 2010 Bron trope as opposed to just beating a dead horse into the ground. Like I Parry Everything, Demon Slayer, and a couple other shows. None of them are coming to mind right now. But next we're gonna move on to another horrible anime archetype, the harem protagonist. Characters that have plain personalities and act scared of females that are throwing themselves at them. Examples of this include Makin and Key, My First Girlfriend is a Gal, Death March, and many others. Now, I know that's the main draw of the genre for many people, like the comedy aspect. Some gooners want to just see the fan service, but I feel like it's a way to do it and still entertain people. Let's go to the godfather of this harem protagonist archetype, High School DxD. Someone who does it fantastically. The rest of those shows is like, if I have 100% on my homework, then I pass it to the next person and they change one answer. Then they pass to another person, they change another answer. They pass to another person, change answers, and down the line until the test gets so diluted or the answers get so diluted that the person that copied down and changed the wrong answer failing the test. And I think that's what the anime is doing right now. They tried to copy High School DxD and ended up with failing tests, ended up with a bland protagonist. To talk about the OG, High School DxD does it so well that they actually give their protagonist a real personality. I know a real out there groundbreaking idea, but make him entertaining to watch. He has a really funny personality. Really, like, the driving factor of the show is not just I want to see some biddies, girls moaning every 2 seconds. It's not just goner material. Funny and has a little perverted side, which makes them really relatable. Because let's be honest, any regular person is in that scenario of females constantly throwing themselves at you. You're gonna act more like him as opposed to the other harem protagonists where they act scared to touch a woman, scared to hold her hand type. So they actually made a protagonist that people can actually relate to, as opposed to the bland insert yourself type protagonist that they're doing now. I think one of the older ones would have done it worse, but they end up doing the best. And what I really don't like about the harem protagonist is it just comes off as the same thing. You just changing the name, changing the art. It's just a beat scene, getting caught with somebody. There's gonna be a little sister that's strangely attracted to the main protagonist. It's just the same beats, not really, just boring and repetitive. Really a waste of resources. At least executed correctly. Like, I'm not one to be opposed of a good harem anime. I'm just saying, most of the time that they do these harem animes, they don't have a story, they don't have good action, they don't have funny characters. It's just bland protagonist, 3 to 4 women, one including a little sister type, and then it just ends up being a snooze fest. The next and last archetype we're going to talk about today, the fan server, or the Lucy, a character that just randomly loses their clothes. Now, the Lucy archetype sometimes and most often goes hand in hand with the harem protagonist, but strangely enough, it's found a lot in shonen anime as well, such as One Piece, Fire Force, Fairy Tail, One Punch Man, Seven Deadly Sins, Bleach, and Konosuba. And I never really got the idea of a fan service. I really get like the main draw of a fan service, especially in shonen anime. I get it for like harem animes. That's the main draw. Are we gonna have a fan service? That's the type. That's where gooners go. But why are they turning action shows into gooner sessions? Like, there's no reason I should be scared to watch these safer animes out loud, like out of fear of the Lucy archetype. Like, I could be watching a good, clean fight, then out of nowhere cuts to Lucy half naked, moaning. Sometimes it gets to the point where I gotta sit in a corner, headphones in, chill in my phone, just watch a One Piece or a Fire Force. To not be the case, it's turning me into the thing I did not want to be. It's making me look like a creep when I just want to watch some good fights, see a good story. You know what I mean? The entirety of the fan service is something we got to dive into another edition of Haters Club, because it's kind of outrageous. I just want to watch good shows on my TV without fear of being disowned by my family. But that's all, folks. Hit the like button, subscribe if you like this edition of Haters Club, and leave a comment on your opinion of these tropes or ideas for the next Haters Club. But other than that, have a blessed one.